What's up, everybody out there in television land and the internet? Michael Hurdle here from the Michael Hurdle Production Studio, helping you render your imagination when it comes to video production, 3D animation, and visual effects on a small or no budget at all. Now, let's get straight to the point. You want to learn how to take your models from Maya and export them into Substance Painter so you can start making nice designs. So today, I'm going to show you my workflow on how to take your models from Maya and export it to Substance Painter so you can have a better experience. You can learn Substance Painter and export your models, and this is with a guy like me who has no texturing experience. So let's start off in Maya. When you're in Maya, let's say you have your final model. I have my model here. There's a few things that you have to do first that's very important. And if you don't do it, you might have a bad experience in Substance Painter. And I learned that the hard way. I have this fight stick here, and it's comprised of multiple different parts. The first thing you have to do that is the most important is your UVs. Let's say you finish modeling what you want to model, and you're going to say, oh, I'm going to throw this in Substance Painter, and I'm going to make it look nice. Before you do that, look over here to the screen. See this UV here? That was one of my biggest problems. This UV setup here is whack. Let me just point that out right now, because I'm not a good UVer. But I've learned that you have to UV every part properly. And it has to be in this one square, not overlapping each other, and it has to be apart from each other. So if you look at it, each part has their own little space in this UV. And I think, by the way, I'm using 2048 by 2048. But for this video, I will be using 4K. So every part, even the little buttons, has its own little area. Oops, sorry. Has its own little area. Do we need that right now? Not right now. We don't need this. Let me just see it bigger. So that's the trick to it. I don't even know why I did that. I'm back here. So the first thing you have to do is UV your model correctly. And if you don't, you will have a bad experience. Now, after you finish UVing, the next thing you have to do is select your model. And if I were you, I would go to Edit, Delete by Type, History. Just get rid of the history on this thing because you want to clear up the history. And then once you get rid of the history, let me just get this out of the way. Once you get rid of the history, then you want the transforms to be frozen. So if I'm correct, it'll be modify, freeze transformations. And make sure your model is centered in the middle of the grid. It'll help too, because everything is better centered. And this arcade stick is modeled to real world scale. So it's modeled as if it was sitting on a desk and someone's hands can go on it and it will be the exact same scale as the arcade stick. That's very important too. So always try to model in real world scale. So let's start off with the art plate. I want the art plate to have its own separate color ID. So what you got to do is you have to be under modeling, mesh display, and then apply color, and then go to that little square option box. When you pull that up, you'll have this. I usually reset it so I can get all the fresh colors on the top first. So I'm going to go into color, and I'm going to select red. I usually start off with red sometimes. Then I'll hit apply. The color node is selected. The color is applied to just this face. I like to go into face mode. It's color vertex mode, but you can actually choose faces. And I'll continue. So I want this brim around the art plate to have its own different color. So carefully and painstakingly, I'll select all the faces that I want to put a different color on so I can put a different texture. And even inside this arcade stick. So here and here. And I'm just going to apply the next available color, which is going to be yellow. Hit apply. And then just this part right here is yellow. But in this case, I have full color ID that I've done already, so we don't have to painstakingly watch me do this. Now, I have mine in a group, so it will select the entire group. Once the group is selected, go to File, Export Selection. It's going to ask you where you want to put it. You can put it wherever you need to. Name it. Make sure it's FBX, okay? Make sure it's an FBX export. Now, I've already named it or whatever, and I already made it. Here it is, called Fight Stick. But, so now you're done with that part. Go into Substance Painter now. And let's start a new one. Go to File, New. And I'll leave the template alone. The file that you want, select the FBX that you exported. Right here. I'm going to use 4K like I said before. I'm going to leave all these other settings like the way they are because I don't change any of them. And I'm going to push OK. What Substance Painter is going to do is going to import a blank FBX, but it still has a color ID on it. You just got to find it. As you can see, when you import your FBX into Substance Painter, you get that one Fight Stick color node that I made in Maya, or that you will make in Maya. Instead of having like 10, you'll have one, and you'll have a bunch of objects on one, which I like. It's kind of cleaner and neater. So let's go over to layer. I don't need this layer because it always comes with a default layer. Texture set. And scroll down to where you see Bake Mesh Maps. Click on that little icon right there. Let's start from the beginning. Right here, my output side, I'm going to make it 4K. And go down, let's go down the list. Now here's the important part. You're going to use a high definition mesh, which may sound strange, but it worked for me. Use the exact same Fight Stick that you imported into Substance Painter, but this time say use low poly mesh as high poly mesh. That works. I'm going to change my anti-alias into 4x4, and I'm good on this line. Normals, I'll leave alone. The common, we were already there. The most important is the color ID. When you are importing color IDs from Maya, you go to the ID and say color source. Don't use the material color because it's gray. You want to use vertex color. I'm going to leave everything here because we're not really talking about this. I'm going to leave everything checked, and I'm going to bake the Fight Stick and move this over here. The baking is not going to be too long. It depends on the size of your mesh, and 4K or 8K will definitely take longer. As you can see, the color ID just showed up, which is nice. I'm going to let it bake all the ambient occlusion and the curvature and all that other stuff, which I really don't care about at this moment. Oh, good. Done. We push OK. Now, you don't see anything yet, though. But let's go to where it says Material. Scroll down to where it says ID. And there goes the color ID. Yeah. Now we talking. See? So, how do we use this color ID once we've done all this extra work? Let's just hypothetically say I wanted... Let's go back to materials before we confuse ourselves. Let's hypothetically say we wanted to drop a material, anything. I just want to drop it on the model. What you can do is you can go into Substance Painter and you can drop your textures on your model. Then you can go in and you can scale and you can adjust however you want. You know, I'm not going to get too far into that. You now only want this to be on, let's just say, the face, the art plate. So we go back to layers. I like to name it like art plate. And now I would go to add mask with color correction or color. And then you don't see anything, but it's going to ask you to pick the color. We're going to pick the color and we're going to use just the red. And now it's only on the red. I kind of messed up right here, but just for an example. And let's just say now you wanted another texture. I'm just going to use a smart material. Let's just use this. Drop it right on here. It's going to be on top of the layer stack. I'm going to say sides, just for the hell of it. Same business as before. Oops, wrong one. Add a mask with color selection. Scroll down. Pick color. And where do I want this material? Let's just say the sides only. And there I have the size. Let's just do one more for the hell of it. Take this blue, drop it right here. I'm going to say body. Same business. Click the green. Oops, you can't rotate, I'm sorry. Alright, pick color. I'll choose green. I mean, that looks very ugly if you ask me, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. Now, let's just say everything you've done you like this arcade stick right here. And now you want to export it and put it back into Maya. So first thing you would do is go to File, and then you would export textures. And this little screen will pop up here, just give you an option. I have it already put into a folder here, so I selected my folder where I want all the textures to go. I will be using Arnold to render, so select the template. I would choose Arnold AI Standard because I use Arnold. The size, I want it to be 4K 4096. So set it to whatever however your project works, and then once you set it up that way, push export. I've already exported everything. Let's see if I can find that joint. Give me 1 minute. And it only gave me these few textures here. Alright, I don't know why that's taking long. It's just showing me a picture, for Christ's sakes. Come on. Oh, there we go. Oops, yeah, as soon as I did that. I have a dual monitor, so I'm sorry it sometimes goes to the other screen, but it looks really ugly. It looks discombobulated, but you have your height, you have your metalness, your normal, your roughness, and so on, and you have your base color. And the best thing about it is you only have these few texture nodes here, or these few textures here. So now that's exported already, and you're done with Substance Painter for now. A lot of people don't know that Substance Painter, they give you a Maya plugin so you can import your textures directly into Maya. It's a free plugin once you have the subscription. But sometimes the plugin is not loaded. Like right here, I have a tab called Substance. But if you can't see it, go to Window, Settings and Preferences, Plugin Manager. And then what I would do, I would just type in like sub, hopefully, and then make sure everything is loaded and auto-loaded from Substance Painter here in your Plugin Manager. Once that's done, then you'll have this tab here. Go to right here where you would like to apply workflow to Maya. Click here once. It's going to give you this little box. Now, my workflow is Arnold. You can choose whatever workflow you have. I use Arnold. And now I'm going to select the maps. I'm going to navigate. Where is this? I'm going to navigate to where all those textures were. And I'm going to select all of them, except for the text files. But it doesn't even import text files anyway, so who cares? I notice in this plugin, it's missing the metallic. It never adds it, so I have to go back and manually add metallic. Metalness. So now I got everything set up right here. And I learned this from Academics Phoenix Plus, so got to give you props for that on YouTube. And once you get this right here, you hit apply. What it will do, which is kind of complicated, but it's cool, it will then add a new AI standard. And what I like to do is go in here and name it. And I'll just put Substance Painter at the end, so I'll know. And enter. And you have a displacement too as well, what I like to name too. Where are you, displacement? Here we go. Because when you do this a couple times, you got to know which one is which. Name of that. Fight stick displacement. So what I'm going to do now is the old texture that I had here is already selected. I like to right click and select objects with this material. And it's going to select my entire arcade stick. Then I'll just like to then now right click on the new one and just say add assign to selection. Now let's hit number 6 on this bad boy. Where are you? And now everything that's been applied that you've done in Substance Painter is now applied to one texture. See? It's cool but complicated, and I hope that you can rewind this a couple times and I didn't miss anything, because it can get real in the feel, son. Real in the feel. You have your displacement, you have everything you need here. You can adjust it, you can change it, you can update it. You can go back into Substance Painter. You can change a few things, overwrite the existing textures, and then when you go back into Maya, just do a reload, and it will reload those textures properly. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. But that's the arcade stick there. And once I use Arnold, so you can use, I have a final here, so we don't have to painstakingly go through watching me do that. I've added just a regular floor, a dome light with a few adjustments, and there we go. And there you have it, successfully. Hopefully I didn't miss anything, and I hope you guys learned something from this. I'd like to give back to the tutorial community, because I'm always on YouTube looking for tutorials, and I always try to up my skill level so I can get better. And once I get a little better, I try to share it back with you guys. So hopefully if you learned something, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. Links are in the description for this model. Is free. I have it on my Turbo Squid account, so you can download it and follow along if you want for free, and you can do whatever you want with the model. You have my full permission. I don't care. And hopefully you learned something, and stay tuned for another video. My name is Michael Hurdle from the Michael Hurdle Production Studio, rendering your imagination. And I'll talk to you guys the next time I do a video.